attempt to kill her. She thought it was just a joke. She even spoke to them that way. Hi, welcome to another episode of Criminal Patrol. This is a story that's, I would say, chilling. People always wonder why it happened. How is it possible? Indeed, and the residents of Henrikov, not far from Wrocław, about 60 kilometers away, were definitely in shock, but so was the whole of Poland. I would say that the script for this, or the outline, well, had already been written before. It was done by a classic Juliusz Słowacki who wrote Balladina, and that's kind of the basis for this story, this crime tale. Even when I look at these cases, in Słowacki's work, the girls' names also start with the same letters. There it's Alina and Balladina, and here it's Ania and Bernadetta. I invite you to watch the next episode.
Do you like watching Criminal Patrol? Support our channel. Click the support button or the link in the description below the video. It's thanks to our supporters that we can create new videos. Thank you very much.
It was in this very Henrikov that two sisters lived, as I said. Ania and Bernadetta lived with their mother. There is also the father of the family, but dad often goes abroad for work, so basically the mother stays with the two girls. Well, it's often said that they were raised in the same house, but they're completely different. And indeed, that's exactly how it was with Ania and Bernadetta. Ania back then, in 2006, was 21 years old, a responsible, smart girl looking to the future. She wanted to become a journalist, and in fact, she was studying journalism. Because there wasn't much money at home, she decided to get a job as well. Her mother worked at the post office, so she also got her a job at the post office in Wrocław. And so it was that the girl worked, studied, and also earned extra money by commuting to Wrocław. On the other hand, her sister Bernadetta was 4 years younger in that year, 2006, so she was only 17 years old at the time, but she was the complete opposite. She wasn't very ambitious, didn't study, was lazy, and would often say things like, "It'll work out somehow, as long as I get by, as long as I pass the exams." She studied very poorly and basically, well, she approached life, I would say, in a rather carefree way. With the girls, as it often happens between sisters, things were different. There were problems, but in what home with siblings are there no problems? Also, when their father was away, basically both girls had to help their mother. But Anya did it out of a sense of duty. She always had that sense of responsibility, so she helped. She wanted to help. She also kind of saw that her sister was simply weaker, that she struggled with schoolwork, or maybe more, that she just didn't want to study. So in a way, she pushed Bernadetta to study, and Bernadetta in turn resented her for mothering her like that, for pushing her to study. She didn't see the need for it, while Anya dreamed and would say to Bernadetta, "Listen, once you finish school, you'll go to college, you'll have a chance to get out of the house, we'll be able to live peacefully, we'll be able to have good jobs and earn good money." She would say that to her very often, but Bernadetta absolutely didn't want to hear about it. She thought her sister was bothering her. When it came to studying, she had complaints, sometimes even got upset. She didn't agree with Anka, and she would say and do everything just to avoid studying. It's around November, it's the year 2005. Both sisters, Ania and Bernadetta, are walking through Henrikov, and suddenly they meet Dominik. Well, Dominik is an old crush, one of Ania's former boyfriends. That's already in the past because nothing connects them anymore, but they used to be a couple, they were very close. Well, even though they broke up, there were no hard feelings on either side. So when they met, it was, I would say, a warm conversation. People who hadn't seen each other in a long time, and Dominika hadn't been around for a while because he was working in Italy and had just come back, and that's why he was in town. That Anya was with Bernadetta, so she naturally introduced her, and right away there was a bit of a spark between Dominik and Bernadetta. They simply caught each other's eye, and later, when they parted ways, when that first meeting happened, there was a connection between them. They called each other, then met a few times, and came to the conclusion that they could be a couple. And that's exactly what happened. The former boyfriend of Anya became the boyfriend of her sister Bernadetta. There was a significant age difference between Dominik and Bernadetta. He was 25 years old at the time and was also considered the life of the party, someone who really enjoyed company and liked people. Besides, when he came back from Italy, he wanted to reconnect with people. He simply hadn't seen some of his friends for a long time, so he would go to different kinds of parties, sit with the guys, just like a guy who hasn't seen some people in a while. And Bernadetta was very jealous about him. She wanted him to spend time only with her. It was also like this. From the moment Dominik and Bernadetta became a couple, he would often come to her house, but even when he was at her place, he would simply talk with Ania. There was nothing to it, no sexual undertones or anything, just a normal conversation between people who know each other, who used to have some contact in the past. But Bernadetta looked at it with such jealousy, with anger, with spite, because every time Anya met with Dominik, she felt this painful sting somewhere inside that maybe Anya wanted to steal her boyfriend back. And she was jealous about it. Dominik's friends saw that she probably wasn't the right girl for him. They even said so. They made comments that he should just leave her alone, that she was kind of possessive, strange in all of this, that she didn't look at their relationship, at his contacts in a rational way. There was even some kind of party, a bonfire in the woods, and he was talking to some girl there. So she immediately went up to some guy and started clinging to him. When you tell him, he asks what you're doing, and she replies, if you can do it, so can I. So at every step, she tried to pick fights with Dominik, tried to tell him in some way that he was doing something wrong. Well, it annoyed him, but he was probably in love with her, so he put up with it somehow. One day, she told Dominik they needed a serious talk when he came to her house. When he asked her what was going on, she told him that she was pregnant. Well, for Dominik, it was the end of the world. He was only 25 years old. He had other dreams. He was thinking about something completely different. He couldn't imagine himself as a father and 17-year-old Bernadetta as a mother. To put it simply, as he said, his world kind of collapsed on his head when he found out he was going to be a dad, so they started talking. At some point, Bernadetta said to him, if you want, I will terminate this pregnancy. To prove her pregnancy, she showed him an ultrasound image. The early stages were clearly visible, leaving no doubt. And then he told her to terminate it, and she replied that if that's what he wanted, she would terminate the pregnancy. And theoretically, Bernadetta terminated the pregnancy in the following days. After Bernadetta terminated the pregnancy, she had an extra argument, a bargaining chip, in her arguments with Dominik. Yeah, she said that since she did so much for him, that she terminated the pregnancy, he could do much more for her than he was doing, There were constant arguments, constant fights. She was always suspicious of him, complaining about some meeting, some look, about everything. Basically, from the moment she terminated the pregnancy, those fights and arguments happened almost every day. It was as if she became obsessed. Dominik somehow kept putting up with it. She was also a poor student. She didn't study well. And when those fights started happening, her grades got even worse. She stopped caring about school altogether. From being, I would say, a weak student, she became a terrible one. There was no chance for her to pass to the next grade. She was aware of that. But her mother kept hoping that she was studying somehow and that she would pass to the next grade. Her mother often asked her about her grades and when the parent-teacher meeting would be, but she kept lying to her, saying that things at school were going quite well and that the meeting would happen, just so her mother wouldn't worry about it. Her mother always believed that she was somehow managing at school, and she had no idea that Bernadetta simply wasn't moving on to the next grade. When she started getting more and more failing grades in her report card, her mother was unaware, not really knowing what was actually happening. So Anya realized that something was wrong, that Bernadetta was simply struggling, that she had no chance of passing to the next grade. Besides, she also had acquaintances in her environment, so her friends told her everything, and she was aware of everything that was going on. Without telling her mom, Anya herself offered to help Bernadetta, that she would simply help her with her studies. That's what she told her. She argued that there was still a chance that it should work out, that if she just started studying, she would manage, catch up on what she missed, and simply move on to the next grade. On the other hand, Bernadetta in all of this thought in a somewhat childish, almost naive way. First of all, she hid it from her mom, thinking that her mom wouldn't let her meet with Dominik. Besides, Dominik probably didn't have the best reputation either and was rather considered a guy who takes life lightly. So she was simply afraid that her mom wouldn't let her see him. She hid all of this, but even though Anya, her sister, talked to her about it and offered to help, she started to resent Anya for even making such a suggestion, for wanting to help her. She also started to suspect that Anya wasn't doing it out of some noble motives, that she wanted to help her sister, but rather to take Dominik back from her. So a strange thread of jealousy started to grow inside her. She was slowly getting used to this thought, but not only that, she also started telling Dominik about all of this, telling him that she suspected Anya of wishing them ill, of wanting to take him away. If she's not around, things will be better and somehow everything will work out. Also, there was some strange thinking, like she believed that if Anya disappeared, then the parents would be worried about where Anya was, and they wouldn't notice that she didn't pass to the next grade. Like I said, the thinking of a strange, childish kid, but very dangerous thinking. All of this went on first for a few days, then weeks, then months. That's exactly how Bernadetta spoke to Dominik. She talked about this threat, about how it would be better if Anya disappeared. At first he didn't want to hear about it, but later, after the doctors examined Bernadetta, they said she had this ability to persuade people. She has leadership skills, but at the same time she's probably also a psychopath. After some time, Dominik agreed with her, accepted her arguments, and one day they both came to the conclusion that there was no other way, that they would have to kill Anya. And so they set a date. It was all supposed to happen on the 29th of May 2006. Why on that day? Well, on that day, the girl's mother, Mrs. Helena, was working the night shift. so she wouldn't be back until early in the morning. The next day, on May 29th, Dominik came to the girls' apartment as usual, like he often did. They were sitting together watching television, and at some point Anya was already leaving the room. She told them that she had to go to bed because she was going to work early the next day. That was actually the case. Basically, she was supposed to fill in for her mom at the post office, so as she was leaving, she told Dominik not to stay up too late. They were already prepared, and they decided that killing Anya would happen that evening. They waited for about an hour. They thought Anya had already fallen asleep, so they quietly entered the room, took a blanket, and when Anya, because she probably had already dozed off, entered the room in the dark, they threw the blanket over her head, and Bernadetta held the blanket while Dominik started to strangle Anya. He probably didn't have enough strength, or he was doing it imprecisely, so Anya started to fight fiercely, realizing that someone was attacking her. At first she thought it was some kind of bandit attack, that someone had simply broken into the apartment, broken into the room, and is trying to strangle her. At some point she even pulled the blanket off her head, and then saw that her sister was next to her, and there was a boy, Dominik. Well, she thought so herself. It didn't occur to her that this could be an attempt to kill her. She thought it was just a joke. She even said to them, "Don't joke around, but I've had enough of everything and I'll tell Mom about everything." Bernadetta and Dominik run away. They leave the room then. Well, I would say it's a tragicomic situation. On one hand, Ania, who thinks that this attempt to strangle her, took it as a joke. Those two, whose attempt at murder failed, went to another room and started discussing. But Bernadetta was convincing Dominik that they couldn't leave it like that. They had to kill. They had to go back to the room and really kill her. Dominik agrees to it. Now they burst in, they go into some kind of frenzy, they go crazy, they rush into the room where Anya is, who's trying to pull herself together. They attack her, beat her, choke her, they threw that blanket over her head again, they sit on her face, they beat and choke her. They kept going until Anya actually lost consciousness. When they lifted the blanket, they realized that they had actually suffocated her, that Anya was dead. They started to wonder what to do now. They came to the conclusion that they would undress Anya. They took off her pajamas. They started cleaning the whole room. Bernadetta started cleaning. They took an old carpet, wrapped the body in that carpet, and that's how their time passed until around 5 in the morning, around 5 a.m. Mrs. Helena called because she was supposed to wake Anya up for work. Bernadetta answered the phone. Her mother spoke to her thinking it was Anya and asked if she was already up. She replied that she was already up and pretended as well. She misled her mother into thinking she was talking to Anya. Then, as I mentioned, they wrapped Anya's body in a carpet, dragged the carpet with the body to the father's car, and drove to the forest. They took Anya's body a few kilometers away from Henrikhof. There, they simply dumped it in the forest. They packed her pajamas and bedding into some bag and buried it, and threw the documents into the river. Well, that's what it looked like. They wanted to suggest that Anya suddenly disappeared, took her documents, maybe ran away, left the country, and vanished without a trace. Well, that was clearly the plan. The girl's mother, Mrs. Helena, came back home after her night shift, thinking that Anya was at work. So she wasn't worried at first, but when Anya didn't come back from work, she called the post office. And that's when she found out from the manager that Anya simply wasn't at work that day. Shocked because she was convinced that where else could she be if not at work, she started looking for Anya. The search began very quickly. Well, it's actually a small town. The information spread among neighbors and acquaintances very quickly. People gathered, they even printed posters and started putting them up. Bernadetta also took part in the search, comforting her mother by saying that maybe everything would be explained, that everything would end well. But neither the police nor the neighbors nor the family found any trace. Of course it was incomprehensible, and the police also started talking to everyone who might have any information, including Bernadetta. And then again, something strange happened, I would say, but strange in terms of logical thinking, and Bernadetta wasn't really thinking logically. She said that Ania had an appointment that day with the neighbor Waldemar. Well, that's a man who lives nearby, which was a lie because they weren't actually meeting, so of course. The police went to Waldemar, took him in handcuffs, and brought him to the police station, where the interrogation began. The police officers also thought that Waldemar was behind it, but they checked his alibi. There was no indication that Waldemar had anything to do with the disappearance, so the police released him from the station. He also discovered that Bernadetta identified him as the one who arranged the meeting. He met with Bernadetta in turn, and then he started to have complaints against her. Why did she say that? Why did she point at him? Why did she create some kind of false evidence? And then Bernadetta, in some strange way, in all of this, in a moment of some kind of honesty, let's call it that, she told the neighbor that Anya is lying in the forest and that she killed Anya. The neighbor, shocked, told her to go and confess, and if she didn't, he would go and tell the police everything. And that's exactly what happened. The neighbor, Waldemar, went to the police and told them what Bernadetta had told him, that she had killed her sister. I believe Bernadetta, in her twisted thinking, had a different plan. She said, well, thinking that everything would come out anyway, that someone would find the body, that the truth would come out, she decided to pin the murder on someone else. Dominik said that he killed Ania and she was just cleaning everything up because she was simply afraid of him. When did Dominik realize that he was supposed to be the only one, the scapegoat, the victim of this murder, meaning the one who would be blamed? So he started talking and told everything as it was, about the preparations, the plans, about how Bernadetta was persuading him to do all of this. Of course, Bernadetta was examined. They found some kind of personality disorders in her, deviations from the normal form, also with a tendency towards some psychopathic behaviors. But at the same time, the doctors stated that she was aware of what was happening and bears full responsibility for it. Both she and Dominik, they both got 20 years, 25 years as those who killed Anya together and in agreement. The parents, especially the mother, probably never really believed that Bernadetta could have killed her sister. She always thought that it was Dominik who actually did it, and that Bernadetta just helped him, but only helped to cover up the traces. The parents, it seems, remained parents until the end, and Bernadetta was just lying and manipulating Dominik the whole time. It was the same with this pregnancy. She wasn't actually pregnant at all. She just wanted to have an argument, some kind of leverage over Dominik. She got a photo from somewhere, probably from one of her friends. It was a tragedy, especially for the parents, because in one day they lost 2 daughters. One is dead, and the other went to prison for many years. Even when she gets out, her life will definitely never be the same again. Well, it's been almost 20 years since this crime, and today Bernadetta is a woman almost 40 years old. Back when she was sentenced, when she started serving her time, she used to write such sentimental letters to her father. She probably didn't really want to write to her mother. She wrote letters about how much she loved her dad, how many mistakes she had made, and she also wrote about how bad she felt sitting in that cell. Fortunately, as she wrote, there's a television, so time passes somehow. And since Bernadetta didn't do well in school, her spelling wasn't great either. There were a lot of mistakes in her letters, really a lot, but she decorated what she wrote with little hearts. Whether her dad believed it, of course, we don't know. And this is a story about, just like Słowacki's drama, how far a person can go to achieve their goal. As you can see from this, in some extreme situations, a person can simply kill and that's it. In today's episode, of course, subscribe to our channel and as always, take care.
If you like watching Kryminalny Patrol, support our channel by clicking the support button or the link in the description below the video. It's thanks to our supporters that we can create new videos. Thank you very much.